anyone know what M2D2 is? Anyone besides John and Craig? Yes?
I've heard of it. I know that it's a medical device development center.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a medical device incubator. We have about 14,000 square feet in Wanna-Lancet right now. And we have medical device startup companies. Most of the companies that we've attracted from the Cambridge Boston Life Science Circle. And we have wet labs over there. And we try to, we help them to sort of develop a prototype, but then to also make contacts with angel investors and clinical trial folks and all that type of thing. And so I helped start that probably about 5 years ago. But we just received $4 million today after a lengthy process to expand it. So we're going to be expanding into another 10, 11,000 square feet in Lowell. And in fact, it's part of a two-space expansion. We're going to expand the medical device incubator, and then we're also going to create an innovation center, a 10,000 square foot innovation center. And I was on the phone yesterday with the chancellor, and it looks like we've secured another $1.5 million for that. So those are all things. And the reason I share them with you all is because you're sort of like, we look at difference makers as sort of the training ground, right? This is an opportunity to expose you to these ideas of innovation and entrepreneurship. How do you move these ideas forward? How do you develop the prototype? How do you develop a team? How do you raise money? And then we give you some money, right? That's the goal, is to give you some money. But we don't give you the money just because we like you. We give you the money because we want to see you be successful. And then we hope you graduate into real companies, right, that need space, that need additional services. So this concept, this is sort of one part of the pipeline. This is like creating the UMass Lowell student entrepreneur troops. But the idea is that you're going to blossom out into sort of a field of startup companies that will locate in this region. Some of your companies will be successful and they'll employ people. And to your point, right, part of the issue is marketing. The other part is creating companies that employ people, right? So in order to have artists and restaurants and culture, you need to have people who can buy those things. And so what we really want to do from economic development perspective, we're thinking about how do we create not just a culture of entrepreneurship, but actual small to medium companies that employ people in the region. And then once we employ you all, you'll start spending more money in the area. So it's really exciting. There's a lot going on. Let me see. We've got a good crowd here tonight. You know, I got to say, we were really blown away last week by all the students that took time to come here, and we're really happy to see all of you who've come back. And this is the second time around that we've done these workshops. The first time was last year. And so we're trying to refine them and hopefully make sure that we give you information that you need. And can you just do me a favor? If you could, not right now, but maybe for the next workshop, we could maybe do a simple assessment form, ask these students some questions about what they've learned in the workshops, what else they need to know. And that way we can fine-tune what's going. So tonight we're going to talk about assessing opportunities. Last week we talked about problems, identifying problems. This week we're going to talk about identifying and assessing opportunities. And then we're going to give you some chance to work on your project. And in fact, Ha's going to spend a little time showing you the ePortfolio tool that we have. So, and I'll probably have you do that earlier rather than later, and then we can roll into the other piece. Let's see, Holly, how many applications so far? 40. 40? That's great. We'd like to hit 50 though. Is anyone here not filed their application yet? Great, that's excellent. All right, we're going to hit 50. We had 40 last year, so we have to do a little bit better this year, right? And when's the deadline? Monday? Monday? Yeah. 5 p.m. And is it a hard, long process? 5 minutes to fill out your application. So, and it doesn't cost anything, right? $10 directly. So make sure you get those applications in. Does anyone have any questions about the application process? Okay. If you do, we're here. Talk to us. If you need help, if you have questions, feel free to talk to us about it after. A couple of questions that came up. Where do I submit my application? Holly had them simplify the URL. So if you go to uml.edu/idea challenge, one word, it'll bring you to the page that has the Idea Challenge link on it. If you click on Idea Challenge, actually the menu. Thank you. So we'll have that up so everyone can see that. So we tried to simplify it, make it easy for you to find that. If anybody still needs team members, let me see. Team members, a few of you still. Okay. Holly, if I can bug you again.
Yeah.
Are you doing homework?
No.
I'm teasing. I've worked with Holly a long time. Faith is putting together the list, right, of all of the...
Put it together already.
Okay, so we have a list that we're putting together of all the applications so far so that people can look at that, and we're going to send that out to all the Difference Maker students so that they can look at, if you still have an open slot on your team, they can help connect you. And if you're looking for specific team members, why don't you talk to Ha? And Ha might have some ideas on connecting people up. Can I change my application? Holly, I believe they can, right?
Yes, I just got an email that you can now go in and manage it because before it wasn't working. So it's
Excellent.
officially working.
Excellent. So, Holly has worked really hard with the web office on this database that we have, the online system, and this is version 2.0, and so it really gives you a lot of control. You can go in and you can edit, you can add team members. None of those features existed last year, so Holly, thanks for that, and we'll have to take the web office out to dinner or something, I think. Okay. Can I enter 2 different companies? These are questions that I've been getting from students. I suppose you can. The challenge is going to be, how do the judges perceive that, right? Particularly, someone had asked me about this. If you're the lead on 2 different companies, I think it's going to be difficult, right? Because the judges are going to have to make a decision about where they invest the money, in your company A or your company B. If you're backup on one company and lead on another, I think that will probably work better. But if you're pitching 2 ideas, if you make it through the preliminaries, which I suppose is possible, it's going to be tough, I think, for them to land you as the lead in 2 companies. So just a heads up on that. If you have any specific questions about that, feel free to ask me at some point as we're wandering through the day. Any other questions? So the application is due on March 24th. Anybody have one of those cute little postcards? Yep. We have a couple of more workshops lined up. Actually, I think do I have a schedule up here? Yeah, I'll get to a schedule, so we'll go through all that. Okay. 6 weeks until the first round of pitches. And that is April 4th. March 28th, that's when your idea plan is due. And I think we should have a copy of the idea plan for them for next meeting. If we can make a note of that, we'll show everybody what an idea plan, what all the deliverables look like. Now, the next session is Developing Solutions. Professor Koyevsky from the business school will be leading a discussion. It's really about how do you figure out the model, right? It's not just developing the product or the device or the service, but it's how do you create one that's financially sustainable. So she's going to spend a lot of time working with you. Actually, I think she'll probably give you some work to do in the class as we're working through that. Okay, so you all saw this, right, last time. We're on the opportunity section. Next section will be on solutions. Then we'll talk about gathering resources for the event. So we'll spend some time talking about that tonight. We'll also have to talk about the rocket pitch. Let's see, looking at this time frame. Probably on March 5th, we'll do the sample rocket pitch. That'll give people 2 weeks to prepare for the rocket pitch coaching. So we'll do a demo rocket pitch on March 5th. Am I back in town? I will be in town for that session. Good. And that'll help you get ready. And I think I mentioned we have an online e-portfolio. So that's ready to go. So How is going to spend a few minutes showing you that. You all will get access to the e-portfolio. And we encourage you to use it. Oh, I shut that off.
Is that you have opportunity to put whatever your team's work onto a online page where you actually later on can publish this to show what your progress of your work. We actually be able to ask one of the winning team last year, the non-spec team, put together their own e-portfolio so that it's an example for you to see how that be filling out. Now, I don't know whether you can clarify any of that or not, but if you can put it together, and when you start working your portfolio, you put in the data and information in there. Maybe later on we have be able to, based on that, could we create some award for a best portfolio.
An award for the best portfolio.
Portfolio
yes.
that you
This is
keep.
to motivate you to do it, right?
Yeah.
We'll give you a prize.
But that's that later on, if you, I mean, for your career later on, show part of your resume that during school time you actually develop certain project, and this is how the project is start from the beginning to the end. So that's not only for the IdeaChan, but also for yourself as well.
It's coming.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Does each student do a portfolio, or does each team do a portfolio?
Well, thank you very much for that questions. Each team do one e-portfolio. That's the teamwork. That's the project is the teamwork. So it should reflect in there. And then I can show you how it's be laid out, and your team member will have the name on it as well. Then again, now because each of you would have, each of the team would have one portfolio, that means one team would have one account only. You have to select whoever the one who fill in the portfolio would email me your name, your email address. Then the administrator will send directly to your email address the access account.
Do you want to log in?
Sure. So once you got the login account, basically just go to their website, digication.com, and you will choose go to school or district name right here. You type in UMass Lowell, and then they be able to recognize and then choose the UMass Lowell. And then your username is actually your email address. So that my email address is and then, of course, the password will be emailed to you, and you'll be able to change it later on. Okay. First thing I want to show you what does it look like first. Then I would show you how to create a e-portfolio later on. I have to go to, can't even see it. You'll be able to view all the e-portfolio from this side if you click to e-portfolio. But I want to choose the example that we have, which is the non-spec group. All right. This is the e-portfolio supposed to looks like. There's a home page which you will give idea what is your project is all about. Then you will go into certain tab, that the project tab, which you would choose the talking about your team, who is in your team. This is here, and they introduce their team member with pictures. You can put pictures, you can put just name with majors, and then the products. The non-spec team, actually, they've been making a lot of promotion or even materials that send to other competitions, so they have a lot of information. This one is basically the whole video talking about their products. Now, the progress here, if you have created a reports or writing, let's say each week you have the progress of what this week your team is creating. It's great to show how your team is work from now to the IdeaChan's time. As long as you can kind of put down what you do, it shows how your team is building up. Obviously, achievement. Now, hopefully by the end, you would be winning one of the award that we're giving out. That's where your achievement will be there. And now the resource part, which is you can attach your idea plan, applications, or any kind of reference material that you've been to help you to do your project. You can attach it to here to explain more about your projects. The media sections where you actually, if you have a promotion materials for your team, or you have Twitter followers or Facebook, you can attach it to here. Now again, this one is the basic format of a e-portfolio. Under these, you can add more. You'll be able to create a lot of tab under that, under these each of the heading projects or teams or achievement that tailor to your projects. You can be able to put in pictures, YouTube video, anything that make people want to view your projects more. Now this is just an example. Once you have your own account, you'll be able to find the non-spec projects amongst other ePortfolio as long as you search for that. Now, I want to show you how to do it first. Oh, by the way, do you have any question about this at all? Again, you'll be able to create your own based on the simple format of this.
Huh?
Yeah.
How do they get an account?
Well, to get an account, please email me the team leader or whoever that you select in your team is the one who do the ePortfolio. Send me their email address, and I'll be able to ask the Digication.com create an account for you, and that account will email directly to your email accounts, and you'll be able to access that.
And what's your email?
My email is ha_pho@uml.edu. Okay. All right, I have to go back. All right, now to create an ePortfolio, I'm just going quickly through it, but I print out a lot of instruction how to create the ePortfolio right here. Please pick it up. Sample in here. And then please, do not create from scratch, but use the Difference Makers Idea Challenge format, because right now we want you to have similar format in order to recognize you are part of the Idea Challenge. At the same time, it's help us to basically to see, compare between your ePortfolio. But again, anything under beside the simple format, projects, achievements, media, anything else underneath that, you'll be able to customize according to your projects. So you choose the Idea Challenge, Difference Maker Idea Challenge. In the permission, please choose at least private with UMass Lowell. Do not private to me only, because otherwise we cannot see it. At least we have to see your ePortfolio. Choose, you feel free to choose, choose as a published so that anyone can see it, even people who do not log in the UMass Lowell Digitation.com. Private within UMass Lowell, that means whoever have the account from ePortfolio and within UMass Lowell system can be able to see your projects. Again, tagging, this is really tailored to your taste. You want to be able to tag or not. Comment. I strongly advise that using registered user. I hope there will be someone like your advisor will have some comment on your projects, or some of our judge can take a look at that and be able to comment on it. So either registered user or anyone. Then again, show comment, you would choose. And then he create ePortfolio, and then there's go, you will have the ePortfolio that I just showed you right there.
Will it create all those five or six pages?
That's right. That's the common format for Difference Maker Idea Challenge. Underneath each of these tab like that, the team will be able to create any more tab later on underneath that to tailor to whatever the projects they are needed to do.
So that'll create a template that they can go and customize.
Right, they can be able to customize underneath that. And it's always have our own header in there, so it's be able to recognize that that's the part of the Idea Challenge, Difference Makers Idea Challenge.
So if they want to use this, like we had teams from last year that went on to win money at other places, and they could open this to the public, and then they could use this resource to show other people.
Right.
Great.
And you'll be able to keep it for a long time. I mean, you keep logging in, you keep updating that projects. It's not like at the end of Idea Jam, that's it, you cannot be able to log in. No, that's part of your team. You still be able to log in, update more information, update more video about your projects, your products, adding more team member. It's yours. Okay, that's it. Any questions or anything? Thank you.
Okay, so think about that ePortfolio. We'd love to. We weren't able to capture everything that people were doing last year. This year we have access to this tool, so now we can share it with folks. So do take advantage of it. Okay, so last week we talked about defining the problem, right? And I think you started work, so we saved these sheets of paper that you left. We collected them, and in a minute I'm going to ask you to grab your sheet of paper and pull it down to your team because we're going to do a little more work with this. We spent a lot of time talking about defining the problem, who's affected by the problem, and you had some homework, right? How many of you did your homework? A few hands? Okay. Remember these sheets? Anyone bring these sheets of paper back? You got to remember, I'm a professor at heart, right? So I give homework, and then I check it, because the only way you get people to do homework is if you check it, right? And did you do your homework? So then you call them out publicly, and you say, why didn't you do your homework?
I'm sorry.
No, seriously, it's okay. But we are, like this week, probably next week you'll do something in class, so you may not have homework for that. But the information on these sheets will help you prepare that idea plan. So if any of you still need one of these, I'll just pass these around and you can grab one if you misplaced it.
I'm sorry.
So take out your pads of paper, and why don't you grab your sheets that we have. And what I want you to do now is to define the problem. So how many of you are with a team, right? Most of you are sitting with your team. If you're not with a team yet, come on up here, and we'll fix you up with somebody for now. And Phil, move the tables, pull the chairs around. Okay, who is affected by this problem? So these are similar to the questions this was your homework basically last week. So if you didn't have a chance to do it, I'm going to give you some time in class to work on that. How are these groups affected by the problem that you want to solve? How many people? Now this one, if you didn't have a chance to do the homework, you may not know how many people yet. So but put that on there. It's just something that you know that you're going to have to do. How do they group? How many people are there, and how do they group? Do they cluster? And we're going to come back to that in a minute. And then why is it an important problem to solve, and why are you qualified to solve it? So what are the skills that you bring to the table that differentiate what you want to do? So what you want to do right now is take 10 minutes to answer these questions. Sketch them out on the big sheet of paper and answer them. Develop your one problem statement and then answer these questions. This is going to help get you ready for the pitch. And if you have questions, we're here to help. Idea. And so you could talk for 15 minutes, I'm sure, about this area, but you're only really going to have a minute and a half. So you got to really be knowledgeable about it so you can kind of cull down to some of the most important aspects. And the more information you know up front, the better positioned you're going to be to answer the questions. Because the judges, if you don't raise something that they think is important during your pitch, they're going to ask you about it. This year we're going to give you more time with the judges. The judges want to talk to you longer. I think they had, was it 5 minutes? We're going to give you 15 minutes in the preliminaries now. 5 minutes to pitch, 10 minutes for questions. And Ha's looking at me like, how are we going to do that? But we'll figure out the logistics. We'll worry about the logistics. So that means people are going to be asking you questions. So, any questions about this process? This first piece around the problem. This makes sense? Not too business or complicated, right? Keep it simple. Before we got started, I know several of you came up to me. You're still looking for team members. So, I've asked them to send you an email with their name, their their team, and what kind of skills they're looking for. And then Hal will put those all together in an email, and we'll send those out to all of the Difference Maker students saying, we're looking for experience in these areas. Do we have any business students here tonight? How many of you got my email today? I think Frank Andrew, it went out through a listserv. It was labeled, what, it had a funny name, what was it? Trip to Costa Rica listserv, but it was Difference Maker listserv, so, oh well. I didn't send it, someone else did. Okay, let me talk a little bit about the next piece here. The opportunity, right? So you've looked at the problem, now we got to look at the opportunity associated with the problem. Because the truth is, if you're asking people for money, they really want to know what's the opportunity associated with this, right? We know there are a lot of problems in the world, and some organizations will fund just problem solving, but the types of things that we're looking at, they really want to know that you have an understanding of what's going to happen when we solve this problem. So I thought it would be helpful to talk a little bit about the difference between an idea and an opportunity. Now this slide didn't work, it was supposed to not give you the answer here, so let me hide that. What's the difference between an idea and an opportunity?
An opportunity is achievable.
Yes?
Well,
Hopefully.
hopefully.
It can be realized. Yep.
Opportunities plan to use the idea.
An opportunity is a plan to use the idea. Yep, so it's something that you can actually achieve and move forward to. You can plan towards. If you have an understanding of what the opportunity, what's an idea? I know it's like philosophy class. I know. Think about an idea, right? What's that? Oh, okay. What's an idea?
It's a start. It's an idea.
It's a start. It's here, right? An idea is here. Very, very few investors will give you money for this. Right? It's valuable. We know it's invaluable, what's up here in your brain, right? But the idea alone, we all have ideas, right? Of course, in my lifetime, I've had thousands of ideas. But it's the idea that you act upon, right? The idea that you attempt to put onto a piece of paper. That's one of the reasons why we have your writing already, right? If it's up here, it's no good. Once you get it down on a piece of paper, now we can start to look at it and share it with other people and examine it and critique it and improve it. And so that's one of the reasons why we kind of walk you through this process of moving from idea to problem. I think I mentioned last week, most students that come to the Idea Challenge come with a solution already in mind. They already have in mind what they want to do. And what we do is we kind of put you through this tedious process of stepping back and telling us, well, what's the problem you're trying to solve? What's the opportunity? And the reason we do that is because we think that you'll come up with a better solution if you sort of take a step back and look more closely at the problem and who's affected by it, and then look at the opportunity. So the difference here is the idea is unrealized, it's untested, right? It's here, it's something you're wondering about. Maybe you'll even jot it down in your journal. An opportunity is really understanding a set of circumstances that actually allows you to implement something. So it's understanding how many people suffer with a particular disease, or how many people are looking for that solution, and how much money those people make, and how old those people are, and where they live. Those people, right? And they may be individual people, they may be groups of people, they may be other companies. The university is a customer to many people, right? Those people, those groups, help you to understand the opportunity, and then they help you to develop the plan that you're going to need to develop the solution, and in addition to that, convince other people that you have a good plan that's worth investing in. So whether you're creating a new business, a new product, a nonprofit organization, all of those take the investment of some funds from somewhere. And so you have to understand the opportunity associated with addressing those items. So there's this other concept, opportunity gap. And what it is it's looking at what the opportunity is, where you might want to go, but where you are or where the state of the technology is right now. So for example, there's a lot of work being done right now. So I do a lot of medical device work in flexible medical devices, right? There's flexible electronics that allow you to make devices and sensors that are just on a thin sheet that you might hold on your skin. I know the high school kids are looking at a scanner technology that can be adapted to an iPhone. The state of the technology and the solution, ultimately we're looking for the Star Trek scanner, right? That will scan the person, and you like that one. Yes. So what did they call that? A tricorder, right? The tricorder, right? So the tricorder. Now the fact is the technology isn't there. There's a gap between what we saw on Star Trek and what the technology will support. But the truth is that gap is a lot smaller now than it was 15 years ago. So the gap is between where the possibilities lie, where the best solutions lie, and what the current state of technology. We were talking about your valve system, right, for the exhaust timing and such. And we know right now that there's some of that going on, but the state of the art is not ideal. And what you want to do is let's look at the opportunity we're trying to get at and what the gap is and what we need to do to cover that gap. So the opportunity is sort of this big picture of where you're going, right? What is the opportunity? What am I shooting for? And then opportunity gap is kind of looking at what's missing in the middle. What do I need to do to get there? Is that clearer, Professor O'Donnell? Thank you. I didn't introduce Professor O'Donnell, and you thought someone was walking around peeking over your shoulders. So Professor O'Donnell and Professor Brown, I think they're the only fellows here tonight. So they work very closely with you all, with the Difference Maker students, in different ways. So Professor O'Donnell's background is in business, in startups, in corporate venture, and he's working very closely with our teams and helping them to think through the business process. Professor Brown's background is in education and educational technology, and so he's helping his students to sort of think through some of the educational technology apps and opportunities there. And we have, as I mentioned last week, we have a lot of different fellows with different skills that can help you through this. So how do you assess an opportunity? Numbers, right? There's a lot of numbers here. And some people like numbers and some people don't like numbers. But the reason numbers are helpful when you look at an opportunity is they allow you to get a sense of how big it is, right? Because with numbers you can look at, is there 1,000 people? Are there 1,000 people? Are there 10,000 people? And those numbers will affect the type of solution you come up with, right? Because if there's 10,000 or 500,000 or 10 million people affected by something, you're going to have to there's a big market opportunity, right? There's a huge opportunity, but you're going to have to make many, many devices. Whereas if you're maybe working in a small and non-profit solution around community gardens in Lowell, it's a smaller landscape, right? You may need less money to move that forward. So that's why we need to think a little bit about numbers. Simple numbers, though. How many people are affected by the problem? And this is homework, I think, for next week. So if you didn't have a chance to do homework last week, you can do it this week. And I think on that sheet at the second page, right, Kevin's flipping it to it right now, on that second page are most of these questions. And it would do you well, it'd do your proposal well to sort of spend a little time thinking this through. How many people are affected by the problem? What are their ages? Are they male or female? Can you find out their income level? My daughter is, I have two daughters. And when I used to teach, I would talk about them a lot, but I don't get to teach as much anymore. But one of my daughters has a master's degree in education. She did really well. She spent one semester teaching and said, I don't want to teach high school kids. So she came back to school, and I asked her, what are you coming back to school for? She says, well, what I really want to do is she had a baby, and I mean, we have good health insurance, so she got great care. She had a midwife and a doula and all these great services. And she said, well, I want to create a nonprofit organization that will provide access to these services for poor women, because I think they're awesome services and everyone should have access. So, well, how are you going to do that? Because we're not wealthy. I mean, daddies can't fund that for her. And she wouldn't want me to. She goes, I'm going to go back to school. And I said, where are you going? She goes, I'm going to go to UMass Lowell. I'm going to go to the Community Psych graduate program because I know I'll get a chance to network and meet people and learn more about this. So she had in mind, we ask about income. It doesn't mean you only target rich people, but it means you have an understanding of how the service is going to be provided depending on the income level of the people that you're trying to serve with your solution. And so for her, that nonprofit organization, she knows her main customer, the people that will use the service may be poorer women who need health care. The people who will fund it will probably be private foundations, right? So she has to take a different approach than someone who's going after a different opportunity, trying to solve a different opportunity. So you want to keep that in mind. Any idea you want to move forward has some potential if you understand the opportunity. So profession, where do they live? Where do they work? What is their education level? These are all questions, and there's many, many more. What am I leaving out, Tom?
It's a good list.
You like that list?
It's a good list.
I put them on the spot.
I mean, it depends. The more you understand those users, the customer, the more you can tune what you're doing. So the list can be short, but it can be a lot longer than this.
You know, that word customers too, I know in higher ed, they don't, some faculty don't like to use it, right? Right? But the truth is, you all are customers. You have choices as students, right? You have lots of choices about what courses you take, what you major in, what school you go to. And so we need to understand something about you. In order for me to teach an effective class, I have to understand what you want to learn. I also have things that I want you to learn. And I better find some common ground there in order to keep you engaged in my class. Now, unfortunately, I know all faculty don't think like that. But I think it's really important. You think about the opportunity. Part of it is what you want to accomplish. Part of it is what the end user or the customer or the person your service wants from it. And the way you create value is finding the overlap in between your solution and those groups. So numbers are important. Potential users. I use the term users not to scare anyone. They help you to estimate the size of the opportunity. They help you to assess what you actually have to deliver in terms of production and distribution. They help you to determine your first customer. So some of your ideas are going to have different groups of customers. You probably have a couple of customer groups, right? You're looking at the natural cosmetics.
Yeah.
And so what are the age ranges?
Right now, my first customers that really want to help me out are 13-year-olds.
Perfect, perfect. But there are other groups, right, that are
The
interested.
two groups I'm targeting are young teenage girls that are just starting to get into makeup, so like
Yep.
13 to 17, and then young mothers who are interested in being healthy.
Yeah, okay. So there's two groups. Why'd you pick the young 13-year-old girls?
That's what competitors choose. That's what competitors target.
So easy entree. It's their first exposure to makeup, right? So, my daughter, the same one who's doing the nonprofit, has started a custom blending safe nail polish business too that she does on the side. And she is using, she has all these, she's not singles, mom, these mom groups, they all do this Facebook stuff and everything. And she's got a gangbang business going now because people find all this, they puts them on Facebook, and there's this certain group of women that just love these custom blends, and she gives them names. She learns something about the person, and they get these custom nail polishes that have names after the things that they're interested in. And so it's really, it's kind of when, I guess we would call it a cottage business, right? It's a cottage business, but it's figure out who's the first customer, right? So you're going to find lots of opportunity. People come in, $1 million market, tens of thousands of customers, hundreds of thousands. But you have to figure out who are the first 5 or 10 or 20 people that you're going to present this concept to and try to get them to invest in it and then perhaps buy or sell or become your partner.
And just to emphasize one key point, a lot of times you look at that, and the assumption is that it's homogeneous, that every single user customer has exactly the same wants, same needs. That's not necessarily the case. So the objective is to identify a subset of the wants, the needs, the desires that you can satisfy across the largest segment of users as possible and still provide something meaningful. So don't assume that it's homogeneous, that everybody wants exactly the same thing.
In terms of presenting numbers to judges in a pitch contest, tables and graphs. Tables and graphs are really helpful. And there's different ways of doing it. You can use a simple pie chart, iPhone user age to show. What you're showing here, you're showing them there's an opportunity, but you're also showing them that you know about the customer or the group that's going to benefit from your solution. So when you do your homework, and then you present this information in sort of a coherent manner, you present it visually. You think about it, the judges on the final pitch, there will probably be 10 pitches that night. It's going to be at dinner time. We will feed them ahead of time so that they won't be hungry. But after 4 or 5, will you get fed? We'll see. After 4 or 5 pitches, they're going to start to get a little tired. So it's going to be up to you to come and excite them and engage them and give them some visual that makes it easy. You want it to be easy for people to understand the problem and the opportunity and the solution. And that's where tables and charts, pie charts, bar charts, simple, accurate. Don't make up the numbers. Don't ever make up the numbers. If you don't know the numbers, leave them out. Because the problem when you make up the numbers, there's bound to be a judge in the group who knows the numbers, right? These are really, I told you, like you all, you're going to be alumni shortly, right? You're smart people. These folks have been in the business for 15, 20, 30 years, and we pull them from a whole range of areas. There's bound to be someone who knows the market that you're pitching. So what will end up happening is if you make up the numbers, they'll challenge you in front of 100 people on it. So you don't want that to happen. Assessing opportunity. So who are your users and customers? So now we're going to give you a chance to do a little more work here. And some of you may have already started to do this. Think about a picture of your user groups, right? Who are the groups of people? Visualize this, right? Take out that paper. Think about the different people. So you'll have a nice little picture of a 13-year-old girl, and then you might have a picture of a working mom, right, with a baby, holding on a baby, trying to put on her makeup. The reason you want to sort of visualize these people is to help you to understand them. Because if you're going to provide them a solution that they want, you've got to know something about them. So what I'd like you to do now, and I know we're really moving you pretty quickly here, right? We kind of pulled you from the problem. You've got all these ideas in mind. Now we're going to ask you, think about the people that are going to use the product. And think about the people who are going to buy the product. Because sometimes they're the same, but sometimes they're not. Right? I'll go back to your valve, your emissions valve, right? I bought a new truck a couple of years ago. I'm not actually buying that valve, right? I'm buying the whole package, the truck. You'd be selling probably to maybe to an auto company, to a distributor. So part of it is I'm the end customer, but I'm not necessarily the person that's buying the product. With yours, it's a little different, right? You're going to be marketing directly to the 13-year-old girls. Maybe, okay. So what I'd like you all to do is take a few minutes, and then I'll pull you back together, and take a new sheet of paper, and at the top write potential customers, and jot down everybody who you think might be a customer.
Athletics to reach the most students in the fastest way possible. And transfer students, freshmen, and introverts are going to be our target groups of students that we're going to most... Yeah, there's our little introvert. But I got glasses too, so I can say. But students that are most likely to use that the most and be return users on the app.
Good. And now next week, with Professor Koyevsky, she's going to make you think about the value, right? The value that you bring these groups. Right. So I'll just give you all a heads up. You want to be thinking about that. This is these are steps that we're walking through, so we're thinking about who the customers may be for our solution. And we have to think about the value that we bring to them. Whose handwriting is this? It's just like mine. Nice.
Yeah.
My wife wouldn't like it, but I think it's
Yeah, I think it's legible.
all right, it is legible. Oh, good. Very visual. Can I share that?
Sure.
Is this top secret?
Go for it.
Samantha, would you like to tell people what we're looking at here?
America.
Yes, what about that? F's to A. F's to
You're
A.
covering that apostrophe S at the top. It's F's.
So, what are we looking at, though?
So in most classrooms, you're not grouped by ability, and the teacher has to focus on the middle third of students.
Yep.
So the more advanced and less advanced students aren't able to do as well as they could otherwise. So our idea is to take them, take the middle group, put them into an online class, and this will affect the teachers, the students,
America.
and
America, no way. So what you have to think about are those, so you talked about 3 groups, but there are 2 that you're going to target,
Yep.
right? So you gotta think about who they are, and what's the value? Why will they trust your opportunity, your venture, right?
Been there.
Your course. You've been there?
Yeah.
Where?
I've been at the bottom
As
and
a
at the
student,
top.
as a student.
And we're gonna be teachers, hopefully, so.
Yes.
And I live in America, so.
All right, so you've got it, but you have to help people to understand the value.
So
Out of that,
in that example as well, who's your customer?
The school system, I would think.
What about parents?
I didn't get to draw the parents, okay?
In that
I'll
situation,
give it back to you.
They're on our other board.
multiple customers.
Oh, very good. All right. See, I told you we were gonna make you work. Thank you, all right. I love these big sheets of paper because you can't hide them. What do you got here? Potential customers. What do we got?
Students with and without disabilities.
Yeah.
And students with diverse cultures, and they would be in grades K through 6.
Yeah,
So at elementary school level.
and what's the, what are you proposing for them?
An app to teach acceptance and awareness of disabilities and diverse cultures.
Are you familiar with the Institute for Community Inclusion at UMass Boston?
No.
Okay, send me an email and I'll introduce my friend's the director, so I'll introduce you. Excellent.
Thanks.
I actually worked in the disability field for about 10 years. This is great. Okay, what else? Let's see. We had education, disability, social app. We have, I know I'm picking on you here. We've been prolific, so. What are we looking at?
I'm looking at both business to business and then business to consumer, and I wanna focus on little 13-year-old girls who are gonna see it on Tumblr.
Yeah.
And then shout out to their mom that, hey, Jenna got this for her birthday, and it's the only one that's really healthy, please get it for me. Because that's what little kids do when they see trendy stuff. Like, that when you see the stuff on Tumblr that like is just too expensive for 18 to like 24-year-olds to buy, it's like the younger kids that actually has it. It's so annoying. And then focusing on
That's because their parents buy it when you get older. You buy it yourself.
exactly. So then I'm focusing on not the 18 to 24-year-olds, but the 24 to 35-year-olds who like yoga, because yoga is trending.
Yes.
And they tend to like healthy things
Yeah,
and
yeah.
have enough money to actually buy it.
Excellent. So B2B and B2C, for the non-business majors, B2B is business to business, B2C is business to consumer, and it's basically talking about your customers. So are you selling to another business? Like you're selling to a school district, which is another business. Are you selling to a customer directly or consumer, in this case, selling to the 13-year-old girls and their parents? So, excellent, thank you. What else? That was a cosmetic product. What do we got back here? What do you guys have? Okay, that's too complicated. Do you have one simple piece of paper? Okay.
We have an app that uses that.
Do you have a customer thing? Just go in there. That's the problem. Okay, this is important. All right, it's all the customer. We're going to stay with customer things right now. Do you have customer things? Okay. What are we looking at here? Boy, James, look at this guy trying to chase me with the camera. What with the guy with the microphone on?
So it's a navigation app for students to, it's sort of like Google Maps, but it would be on your specific campus to get classroom to classroom. So if you are new to the school as a whole, or if you're usually on South Campus and you're on North Campus for the first time, or vice versa, you'd be able to put in Kitson 309 and find it if you're in, Southwick 102, and know that you don't have to go outside. You can just.
We don't have that, huh?
Well, there's a map on the website that's.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean like
not
a little app thingy that I could just say, this is where I am, how do I get?
Not for each
Yeah,
specific.
in the buildings. No, I think that's a good idea. Cool. No, I like it, I
I was
like
like, maybe
it.
you do.
No, I
It would have been nice to have.
Does anyone have that? You guys don't have that, right? You're not hiding it.
Nope.
That's a great idea.
Um,
What's that? Yeah, that's right, there's one for the shuttles, but not, like, faculty could use that. We hired a couple hundred new faculty over the last few years. Oh, there you go, I like it.
And then it would also tie in with transportation. It would give you push notifications when the buses are arriving. Like your bus is arriving in 2 minutes, so you know you can stay inside for another minute, not be in the snow. And then as well as if a classroom is changed or if your class is canceled, when that email goes out, it'll send you a push notification that says, your class has been canceled, so get on that bus.
Oh, very good, all right. So, these are all, so with these people, how, have you thought about how you're going to pay for this?
So I was thinking that it would be like a 99-cent app for each semester, so you would have to buy it twice a year. And then when you repurchase it, then you would get your new school schedule in there, so that you wouldn't have to worry about wiping out your old one or having double classes, you know, in there. So it'd just be once a semester you'd pay 99 cents, which is, you know,
So these would be the
nominal.
customers then?
Right, well,
Okay.
this is the people showing you the money. Those are possible users, but
Yeah,
I don't think,
okay.
like, if I was an alumni, I wouldn't pay 99 cents for an app to find a classroom, I'd just ask a student.
Right, right.
Same with visitors, potentially, but I.
Right, but if
feel
you're
like-
here every day.
Yeah,
Yep.
the freshmen.
Good, okay. So y'all get the idea, right? We're talking about customers, users. This is really important as you start to think about the solution. And at some point, like you're developing software, right? We all think about having beta software and alpha software. And we have lead users, people that come and use the software first and say, oh, I don't like this, or this could be improved, or the buttons are in the wrong place. So for all of your solutions, whether it's software or a product, or I mean, you were talking about your work with the community organizations, right? And how you all had an idea, and you went and you met some community organization, and they said, no, that's not what we're interested in. So it's much better to find that out now than it is after you've been given $5,000 to try to implement something that nobody really wants solved. So that's part of what this is all about, is sort of thinking through that process and getting your mind wrapped around the different customer groups. Okay, now it's a little after 7:30. I do have a couple more things I just want to touch base with, then we'll let you all get on the way. And we'll watch James walk backwards with the video camera. He's pretty good at that. You know, the pros would just heave it up on their shoulder.
Want me to just stand by you like a close up?
It's getting a little embarrassing when you do that. I feel like it's, yeah, what's that, MTV reality show or something? Okay, let's see. One thing if we had more time, I'd have you spend a little more time thinking about this, but you can do this afterwards. Competition, right? So one of the questions we asked about is, as you started to investigate the problem, is looking at how that problem is being addressed right now. So most problems, Summit has tried to address them. It doesn't mean they have a good solution. Or they may even have a solution that's already on the market that's being sold and is successful. It doesn't mean that you can't still compete with it, right? You just have to think about, how do you compete? What are the critical success factors to compete in that market? And having a better understanding of, if we market this product differently, if we design it differently, if we price it differently, there are different types of things you can do to make it attractive, even though there are already people with a solution in the market. So you want to understand how the problem is currently being addressed, who's doing it, how big of the market do they have, right? How many customers do they have? That'll help you to understand your market as well. How you can still, let's see, we all have smartphones. Most people have smartphones now, right? I remember back in, let's see, it was around 95 or so, when PDAs first came out, right? Personal digital assistants, before we had smartphones. In fact, we had very primitive cell phones. And the first PDAs, there were all sorts of competitors, right? Apple introduced the Newton, which was this big device about this big that had a holster that you strapped on your leg. You looked like a commando. Casio and Compaq had these things that looked like pencil cases that you flipped up. None of them talked to each other. HP was in the market, Microsoft was in the market, Casio, Apple. There are all these competitors in the market. They all made a lot of noise, they spent a lot of money, and then all their product lines were pulled off the market. They all basically failed. They couldn't capture enough market share. Now, there were a lot of reasons for that, but part of it was the technologies weren't ready, and we weren't ready. The customers weren't ready to use the product. A few years later, along comes Palm, right? The Palm Pilot. Palm captured the entire market. They just took the market over in a matter of about a year and a half, and they really did well for about 5 to 6 years. Palm dominated that personal digital assistant. Unfortunately, the smartphone came along. And when the smartphone came along, there was really no need to have a separate device for your contacts and emails, and then one for your phone and another for... The smartphone came along and put them out of the market. But they were able to successfully complete. They had a very successful business for 5 or 6 years. So it's something to think, even though there's someone in the market, you can still figure out ways to get your product in there. How effective is the current solution? Where's the gap, right? Does it meet some needs and not all the needs? how can it be improved, and how can your solution be different and better? So you need to think
It's
about
just
those.
Three words to keep in mind. Better, faster, cheaper. Higher performance, better quality, cheaper.
Now, I'm not going to have you do this tonight because it's getting late, but just think about the opportunity associated with it. Now, so you spent a little time thinking about the people, you'll spend some time thinking about the competition, and just on a sheet of paper, when you get home and as you're thinking through this, just start to sketch out how big's the opportunity, who's in the market. Make a little chart and draw some circles. So if I were in the PDA market in 1995, I'd probably have one circle for Apple, another circle for Microsoft. The compact circle was a little smaller. And then all of a sudden Palm came along. So start visualize who's in that market and then how you're going to situate yourself and how you're going to compete. And this will help you to think about the solution that you're going to put together. So, any questions? Basically took like several weeks of a class and condensed it into about 45 minutes or an hour. But I actually probably gave you more hands-on time than I did. Thank you all. Have a good night. And I won't be here for the next one, but I'll be here for the class after that.